So are you a narcissist?
I think so. My diagnosis papers say so, so I'm going to go with yes.
How was it that you came to being diagnosed as a narcissist?
My entire life, I knew something was kind of off, right? It's like, going to funerals and everyone's like crying, and I'm like, oh, they're faking it for attention, and like, I just didn't feel anything. I just thought everybody was being performative. Early on in my life, it wasn't that big of an issue, but the more that I kind of leaned into my more maladaptive behaviors, you started to see like me getting kind of violent, angry, manipulative, stuff like that. And it started messing up my life. After lying to the therapist for 2 years, I eventually started just being open. I'll never forget the day that there was kind of a shift because I was talking about one of my friends, and I was like, they think they understand me, they really don't, blah, blah, blah. I just like sit back in the chair, just kind of exhausted from my anger. And I just said, but it's not surprising because they're all so fucking stupid. And my therapist, like, wide-eyed looks at me and is like, what? And I'm like, I mean, look at them. They all complain that I think I'm better than them, but look at them compared to me. I'm more attractive. I'm more charming. I'm more, etc. I was like, oh, that felt good to get out. And then she said, well, I'm humbled. And then I looked at her and I was like, are you fucking mocking me? Very quickly after that is when my diagnosis came.
Now, do you think you've always been this way, like as long as you can remember, or do you think you became this way?
Primarily, I think I became this way. And I was actually pretty emotional as a kid. Like, I once cried because I was afraid of what would happen to my stuffed animal after I died. Stuff like that. I was very, very sensitive. And due to a lot of the trauma, I think I just kind of became more calloused in order to kind of deal with it. My parents thought I was like a prodigy growing up. And the only time I was paid attention to, other than meetings, was when they were able to use me to basically brag and say how, oh, look how smart our kid is, look what he did. I do think the main thing is that because I was never appreciated for being, a person and only on achievements, it's like that's the only way that I learned to be able to regulate my self-esteem. Since I can't feel good about myself, I can only feel better about myself than others.
Another thing that I think confuses a lot of people is that narcissists can come across as very arrogant, right? Like they may brag and be grandiose. And so they think, oh, narcissists are really confident. So is that true that narcissists are confident? Or what's really the truth?
That's such a hard question to answer because I understand the confusion around it. It's like yes and no. It's like I'm incredibly insecure, but also incredibly confident. Partially it depends on how much like what people are thinking about me at the time. I will become more grandiose, confident, self-esteem boost, stuff like that, as long as I'm getting the reactions that I want. Arrogant, domineering when they're getting that reaction. But then if they aren't, they'll become vulnerable. They'll become very introverted, kind of hide themselves away, very sensitive to criticism and ready to lash out, paranoid, et cetera, et cetera. And so it's like, but like, even when I'm grandiose, it's like, I believe it, but like, I also still think I'm worthless. I don't even know how to describe it. It's really hard to like, because it sounds so contradictory to most people, I imagine. I have a friend who she's diagnosed with MPD as well. And she said something to me once that like always stuck with me is, do you know how other people know who they are if they're not being told? And oh my God, I never related to something more. It's like, I don't know who I am if you're not telling me who I am. And that's why narcissists can be really hypervigilant to what people are thinking and feeling about them, because they're relying on that in order to just even know who they are.
When I talk to psychopaths, they say a similar thing. Like they struggle to know who they really are. Or like they feel like they have no core self other than sort of what's the environment is making them behave like right now. Do people ever manipulate you because they know how much you care about like getting admiration and they kind of use it against you?
Probably. Well, here's the thing. I'm really blind to it because I mean,
You're just like, I'm loving it. It's all good.
Yeah, I'm like, I'll take it. I view manipulation a lot of times just as kind of a way people interact. I'm like, oh, I know that they want something out of this, but I'm getting something out of it, so I don't care, right? Unless I feel like I'm trying to be made a fool out of. And I do think narcissists are actually particularly prone to being manipulated, especially since our grandiosity makes us think a lot of times that we are, immune to it. We're master manipulators. We're not. It's easy to take advantage of us.
People have just listened to you talk about narcissism for a long time. If there's one thing that you want to have stick with them, like what would it be from our conversation?
The main thing that I always want people to take away from any video or interview I do is that, like, we can be pretty shitty people Don't get me wrong. We do hurt people, and it's okay to, acknowledge that. But also, I feel it's important for not for everybody, if there's an acknowledgement of the humanity behind the condition and stuff like that, to know that this wasn't somebody that was trying to hurt you for the sake of hurting you. It was somebody who is very sick and may never get the help that they need. And that sucks. But it's not going to be helpful to anybody to take it personally or to demonize the condition itself.